Hey everyone, Jim T. Graham with RCGroups. And usually we do our live feeds on Thursday at 2, but we had a special announcement and a special guest. Now, earlier today, we had a special guest, but we have another secondary. It's a pretty cool deal. And we thought we would break into the day one more time to talk about a new unit from Eagle Tree. We're bringing John in. John's currently in Croatia with Jason Cole. They're competing on a TV show called Drone Wars, but we're going to bring in a live feed from John in Croatia, and we're going to talk about the new Eagle Tree Micro Vector. So we have Matt Gunn here. Matt Gunn and I both are Vector users. In fact, I believe everyone on the edit team, like Jason, Matt, and I, use Vector. And the only thing that we would wish is the more we FPV, the smaller our craft have been getting. Like the one sitting behind me, this is a Sky Surfer 1500.
Or like this one.
So that is a new micro Anaconda.
No,
not Anaconda. Sorry,
the Sky Hunter, the
Micro
Nano Sky Hunter. Now
so
yeah, go ahead.
Matt should be bringing John in at this point to jump in. John's going to have all the details. So the concept here, it's the Vector. Matt, because you have that unit in that Sky Hunter, correct?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have a Micro Vector shoehorned inside of here. We'll look at it in just a second. This has been under wraps.
For how long? 6 months?
A couple of months. I've been beta testing this thing. I'm really one of the very few people that has it in a fixed wing. Everyone else is using testing the Micro Vector on their mini quads because it's the size of the mini quad, board, whatever the standard size is that everybody has on their boards. The Seriously Dodo board, the Lux board, those types of boards. Well, the Micro Vector is that board exactly. And it comes with a case, but this is the beta version, so it doesn't have a case. And basically, you solder up all your wires. So for months now, I've been telling people online, yes, I have a full-size Vector shoehorned in this thing, which wasn't entirely true, but in the sake of non-disclosure, I had to do that. So there he is. There's our man. How you doing?
Hey, how am I showing?
You look a little shady, John.
Yeah, I'll move. I'll move, but
up?
no, I mean, what am I showing up as far as my login and name?
We're live right now. You're showing us John.
It shows John.
Excellent. Excellent. Let me get to a better spot here.
So John knows we're all Vector lovers. I put a Vector in one of my 250 size quads a while back, and I know John was doing it at the same time. And I'm almost well, that's not true. I am flying some 200, 180 size quads, but I love my winged craft, and I would love to be able to fit not only the on-screen display, but the ability to loiter and return to home and all the other benefits that the Vector brings. And the other thing I'll say about the Vector just in general is easy to set up, easy to program. It's pretty intuitive. There's not a lot to know. I think John is frozen. What do you think, man?
Is he there? I think we lost him.
I'm sure I'll be right back. I got money. He bumped the cable when he was readjusting there. But the Vector is just, for me, it's what I like to use. And so if you could take the Vector and make it small so it would fit into our smaller craft, that's perfect. And that's what John is here to talk about.
Yeah, so we did just that. It's basically the Vector, a lot smaller with maybe a little more performance tweaks. Great for mini quads and small fixed wing, as Matt's been testing.
So Matt, give us your experience with installing it.
Sure. So I've been used to the full, I guess we can call it the full size Vector, and the Vector is very plug and play. There's lots of there's lots of connections that just plug right in, and you use some servo style connections for your camera, your VTX, and then your bus connections are just the little micro JST style stuff. So this was a departure. When I was told I was going to be able to test the Micro Vector, I was ecstatic. I didn't know what I was going to receive. And when it came in the mail, it was just like I was saying, it's just like the Seriously Dodo, or it was just like the Lux board. It's just a little board with all the solder pads on it. So I'm like, okay, this ought to be fun. But then it came with the full-sized GPS with the mag in it from Eagle Tree. It came with the full-size current sensor, and that's perfect. Those are things that I did know. So I pretty easily, it was time-consuming, but it was very easy to solder all the correct connections to this board, and it fit perfectly inside of this tiny little craft. The board weighs absolutely nothing. And I'll show you right now. Now, all the wiring is in here. Here's the very first look of the micro Vector inside of a Nano Sky Hunter. Now, if that is not small for a full basically full options flight controller and heads-up display, I don't know what is. This thing is small. Now, you'll see all my wires here. There's a lot going on, because I have to power servos separately from the ESC, BEC, and then send the signal wires to the Vector. So there's a little bit of wiring involved, but I do have all, even though it's a lot there, I do have it all on servo connectors, so I can disconnect everything. But there you go. Let's get another close look there. Very first looks of the micro Vector. That is one excellent performing board. It performs exactly the same as the full size. It has all the heads-up features. I mean, it literally, they packed it all in this thing. So I was very surprised. Well, I was excited. I wasn't surprised because John told me that it had all the same features. The only thing it doesn't have, if I am right, is sound. Right, John?
It doesn't have sound, and you cannot connect an RPM sensor or an external temp sensor. Other than that, it's pretty much the same as far as the options, and it actually has a little newer hardware, so it's got a little more performance that you would notice when you're flying like a mini quad or something really, really powerful.
So a pitot tube and all that stuff is on there, Matt?
I think you have the bus connection still that you can do a pitot tube. It's right off the back of the here's my there we are. Here's my GPS. So you have a bus connection right off the back there, and then you can hook up your pitot, right?
Yeah, so you can use all the regular bus accessories, the airspeed sensor, GPS, the alerter, and info panel, all on there as well.
So tell us your real world experience, Matt.
Well, the first time I threw this thing in the air, so I have 4 Vectors. That's how hardcore I am. And I'm probably going to ask you guys for another one for another review coming up. So just keep that in mind. But I'm a Vectoraholic. Everything I fly FPV needs a Vector in it, because it's just the ultimate insurance policy for flying FPV. I know where I am at all times. I have an infinite data stream, basically, of whatever I want to know, and I can tailor it to whatever. If I want to go, if I don't want to show something, I don't have to. I can change stuff in flight. Just a great unit. So I knew what to expect. I knew how to do the dance to set this thing up, even though the soldering took 2 days for me to do. I'm not even exaggerating. It was a lot of soldering, but it was easy soldering. It just was time consuming for me. So with that said, I knew what to expect. When I launched this thing, first time, it took off straight. I got up to altitude. I turned on 2D with heading hold, and she just sat there straight as an arrow flying. I turned, let go of the stick, and I saw that and I'm sure it's okay to talk about this because it's been fixed, but I was beta testing. So I noticed that when I would turn in 2D heading hold and then let go, man, she would turn back the other way and just keep turning and slowly start settling back down. And then we realized that there was a bug in the code that was waiting for rudder input on an aircraft with no rudder control. Ah. So if I had had a rudder on this thing, then I could have bumped the rudder and it would have stopped wherever the rudder bump occurred and followed that heading, I assume. So that was instantly, I said that to John in my testing. Hey, we got a problem. It's going back the other way when I let go of the sticks really bad. Within 2 days, their team had already fixed it and sent me the new file. I uploaded it, and it's been smooth sailing ever since. This thing is ready for everyone right now. I mean, I cannot. You could put this in any size aircraft. You don't have to be limited to small airplanes with it. It really would work in my DRAC, my right wing DRAC back there. It would work in my Bixler 3. It'll work in my Sky Hunter I got hanging from the ceiling. It's working anything, man.
Let me ask you this. Would a standard vector fit in a Bixler 3, or would you go micro vector?
Well, actually, it's funny that you say that, because there is the standard vector in a Bixler 3. So yes,
awesome.
It fits nicely. Here's my nose in it. It's got a little bit crunched. That's the L2. This is my nighttime bird. It's got the long range 433 in it. It's a great flyer, but yes, it's got a full size vector in it, and it carries it fine. Could it use the added weight reduction of the micro vector? Absolutely. So right now you can feel a little bit of the weight in there, but with a flight controller that's not much bigger than a postage stamp in there, I think that's a great idea.
John, tell us.
I was going to say, just to go the other way on that, I've got the Nano Sky Hunter as well. I got one from Ready Made to Test, and my 2 prototype micro vectors were already being used in something, and I've actually got my Nano Sky Hunter with a full size vector in it, flying awesome as well. Probably a little heavier than what you've gotten yours to there, Matt, but yeah, it's still, you can really cram that the full size vector in some really tight spots as well.
Yeah, that micro Sky Hunter can actually take some weight.
Oh yeah, I was really surprised. There's guys flying that with, I think, 3S 2200 or larger. I'm like, that was my mind.
So here's the question, and I don't know if you can answer this. Do we have any price points? Anything that you can talk about when we may expect this thing to go live?
Well, I'm not going to comment on when it's going to be available. I honestly don't have any hard and fast dates. I know we're getting close.
Yeah.
The beta program, I will say that we don't hear a lot from our beta testers now, which is great, which means that they're not running into any issues.
No, yeah, I fly mine once a week, and just for giggles, and just to fly, and I have no problem. There's nothing wrong with it anymore. Nothing.
Right. We've actually got the microvector thread on RCGroups, and we've got some beta testers uploading some videos quite often. One of our beta testers, Luke Sowing, has recently posted some videos from Heli Extravaganza where he was out putting it through the paces, and he's a phenomenal pilot, and it looks really good. I think we did a price point of, just for the microvector, about $109.
That's awesome.
$99, but we may have some better news than that. I'm not sure.
Oh my gosh. That's cheaper than some on-screen display standalone units.
Right. Yep. So
we're also working on a stackable same footprint PDB PDU.
Thank gosh, that's awesome.
And that's with our phenomenal filtering that we've always been known for to power your camera and transmitter.
So no more big bulky current sensor, right?
It's going to be in basically a standard size, the same size as the microvector footprint, stackable. You could use it in an airplane if you want, or you could use our main standard vector PSU. But mainly the stackable PDB is going to be for racers and stuff like that. But,
well, in the name of saving weight and shaving weight, I think that removing that big old guy from in here that is just, you can't even see it, but the big current sensor in its case, and it weighs a little bit with the wires and stuff like that, and it kind of, I think it's going to be a wonderful addition to any small plane, because weight is extra flight time and higher climbing ability. Even if it's grams, it really does help. So I'm stoked that I was
Yeah.
on the beta for this thing.
I actually took the standard regulator that you were just pointing out. Now, this will void your warranty, but I took it apart and replaced the wire connectors with a lot smaller wires, you know, more applicable to the Nano Sky Hunter, and it did shave off a good bit of weight. So, you know, we may offer something like that for fixed wing where you don't need the stackable setup, but has a smaller set of wires, save a little bit of weight.
Now, is this has this already been? You say that people are posting videos. Are they posting videos saying it's the micro vector?
Oh yeah, yeah. We've got a thread. I believe it's. I'd have to check which form it's in exactly, but yeah, we have an announcement thread that was not long after Joe Nall, after you guys premiered it first. Then we started the micro vector thread. So it's got some pictures. It's got some of our beta testers checking in. Yep.
So John, tell us about now. Matt had to do some soldering on this unit. Will the production unit be more plug and play for servos and things like that?
So what we have in mind is we have to use the JST connectors. We have so many IOs and inputs and outputs on this thing that, you know, doing direct solder would be very difficult with that many connections. We've got a lot of connections on there for a lot of different options. So what we're going to do is provide a long enough squib, so when you plug it in, you've got plenty of wire, so you could actually, like a lot of the guys, will take apart their ESCs and to them, so you have no breaks, no solder points or anything between the flight controller and where they go to the ESC or whatever. If you're using servos, you do have to wire in power to the servos. Servo power doesn't actually flow through the micro vector. You have to connect that, but that's covered. That'll be documented really well in the manual. And one other thing is, keep in mind, this has all the features of the vector. It has the sky gates. It has waypoint functionality and everything that you can do with the vector. So it's you know, full featured, full flight FPV controller.
Awesome, Matt. Any more topics or things you want to go over on this thing?
No, but I'm glad that you gave us the okay to talk about it. I think I'm going to do a first look article on RCGroups and show mine shoehorned in here, if that's okay, even though it's the beta unit.
Yeah, and I will note that it probably, well, you know what yours weighs in, what the Nano Sky Hunter weighs in at right now?
Oh man, I can tell you right now because I do have a scale right here, and let's see. I'll tell you. All right, turn on, press tear. Total weight without battery flying weight is 11 ounces, right on the money.
That's amazing.
So under a pound, 11 ounces for that.
That's pretty good, but let me tell you this. I've got the micro vector installed on the Mini Swift from Ready Made RC with a standard power supply, a 450 milliamp. Yeah, a 3S 450 milliamp battery. Again, fully waypoint capable and everything, under 250 grams.
Beautiful.
And, you know, there's no FAA registration number on that thing.
No.
And let me say, a plane like the Mini Swift needs the gyros that are on board on that vector. It'll take that and make it a really
flyable plane. I couldn't fly mine without it. That's why I bailed on that under 250 gram venture I did, because it was so uncontrollable, man, for FPV. It was just like, any wind at all, and it was gone.
We had that at Joe Nall. That's where we kind of premiered the micro vector. And I went down there and let people fly it at the FPV line. And the guys from Ready Made were there. And you were talking about the owl cam. I had an owl cam on it. And they were flying where we as spectators could not see it anymore. It was so dark. And they, you know, of course, the owl cam does a great job of bringing in extra light. And with the stability, they were flying in near darkness and didn't even realize it, and brought it in, took the goggles off. They were like, wow, I could still see everything, and it still felt locked in. I had full confidence in it. They were flying through the multi-rotor gates with it. It was amazing.
Awesome. Awesome. So my full all-up weight with a 1300 3-cell is under a pound. I'm 15 ounces with this battery in it, with all of its weight. 15 ounces, man. This thing flies extremely well. I can launch it at just under a half a throttle, and it just flies out of your hand, and it lands well too. So I'm impressed with it. It's a very unique aircraft because it's almost like we were talking about the DJI Mavic of its portability. This thing's just as portable. You can put it on your front seat and literally go and just throw it. And no, you're not any worse for wear. You know?
Have you done return to home and loiter and all that stuff?
Absolutely. It loiters well. It returns to home well. I had to do a lot of gain adjustment with it because it's so tiny. So it did require some gain, but nothing that was out of the ordinary. I mean, just, you know, in flight with the gain knob, just turned it up, turned it down, rocked the sticks, let go, rocked the sticks, let go, turned it and found its happy place. And then when I landed, disconnect the knob and then put in that value that it put on the screen of like 82 or whatever. And then that was it. So it was really easy to set, just like the Real Vector, super easy to set up. Glad you guys made that.
Well,
you know, one thing we're thinking about doing is taking, for example, your settings that you found that work with that, get your specs, and making that available for people so they can take your config file and put it in there and not have to tune anything. Even on mini quads, you know, have the specs of all the components, have that config file ready to go, and you know, they may want to tweak it for personalization, but be able to get up, fly, and have it perfectly controllable on the first flight.
Right on, right on. Well, am I okay to do the review on this thing now?
You are absolutely okay to do the review on that. And I will say, you know, other than you, I think myself and maybe one other person have only been the only ones to do testing with the Microvector on fixed wing. We got several guys out there doing it with the mini quads, but you know, fixed wing, not that many out there. So we really appreciate your input. It really helped us. You and I are pretty much the only ones that were out there testing it so far.
Yeah, it flies like a dream. It flies absolutely no different than the full size one. So that's what you were after, and that's what it does.
I've got the second size up wing at Ready Made, not the tiny one, but the one slightly above that, 28-inch, I think. So that I was kind of reserving that for the Vector Mini to get on there and see. I really love to see if we could get that thing grooving through corners and not skittering through like it was on ice.
You can do it. It's amazing how well that thing flies with the Microvector on it. I mean, you just take it. I just do a wingtip launch and just put it up at a, you know, put it in a 3D angle and do a 3D, you know, a wingtip launch, and it just climbs out to whatever altitude I put it in. Loiter, and then I sit down, put my controller down,
Me too.
goggles on,
Awesome.
Stretch a little bit, and then go fly.
Eat a cheese sandwich.
Did we get an ETA on this yet?
He's not ETA us. He's learned from past experiences never to ETA.
Okay.
Yeah, and the pitchforks and torches, man, I gotta avoid that when we miss it by a minute. So.
Well, stay tuned at RC Groups and the FPV channel, and watch out for Matt's next article. Hopefully when that becomes a production unit, I can get my hands on one and get it in my wing. And John, thank you for knowing our love for the Vector and getting us a couple to try out.
You're very welcome, and stay tuned for some other cool stuff we're working on that's going to apply to the Vector and the Microvector coming up.
All right, everybody, we've been talking to John from Eagle Tree, Matt Gunn, who has been beta testing the baby Vector. And if you like our videos and like all the content we provide, hit that like button. And we always appreciate when you guys watch our videos and download our podcasts and hang out on RC Groups. I'm Jim T. Graham, your host. Thank you guys for at last minute jumping in here and talking on this topic.
Thank you, man.
All right. We're out of here. Till
See
the
ya.
next one.